Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Jalen Says. And today we have a very, very cool person. She's a voiceover artist. She's a saxophone player. She plays a lot of instruments too. She's a singer. She's all right. Whatever you think, dealing with voice, think it. She probably does it. And this is pretty great. A good friend of mine, Mr. Rick Party, kind of recommended and brought her onto the show, so I really appreciate him for doing that. But also, here she is to, I guess, introduce herself even further. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Wow. So, for the audience who don't know, can you tell them who is Miss El Michelle?
Who is El Michelle? Well, this is El Michelle, and there's nothing wrong with your ears. You have reached the voicemail box for 555-7755. Please leave a message after the tone. For English, press 1. Para el español, marque 2.
My mom and dad say I have to eat all my vegetables, but they're so gross. I don't want to.
Peaceful, they call it Stormy Monday, but Tuesday's just as bad. That's just a little bit. I'm El Michelle. I'm a 46-year-old mother of a wonderful son, musician, singer-songwriter, author, keynote speaker, and I just love everything about the arts. I have a passion for the arts, and I guess we're going to be getting into that in just a moment, right?
Oh, yeah. That was really some. I was before you said
that's just a little bit
wrong with your mic. I was just there's nothing wrong with your audio. I was just like, wait a second, is there some? Do I need to my headphones speak? Wow.
That's just a little bit of who I am. Everything to do with voice, everything to do with music and the arts. I really have a passion for the arts, and everything I've done in my life has kind of always brought me back to that. So, history, 46, son, single mother, musician, speaker, singer, songwriter, all of these things. A background in mass communications, television, radio broadcast, production, all kinds of stuff. So let's get into it. I'm ready. I'm ready for this.
Well, me too. Wow. Okay, let me get your breath. But so you started this habit of taking other people's voices, copying it, emulating, doing all this stuff at a very young age.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of brought you into the, I guess, professional aspect of it?
Well, I would say I get it from my mom. Her reading me stories and all the different voices. But around the age of 17, I realized after I had done all these voices, I was talking to some friends in radio, and they said, "Oh my God, your voice is golden." And I was 17. And so they brought me into the radio station and says, "We need you to cut a commercial." Right. And I said, "Okay, all right, that's fine." And me being a little shy then, because I'm an introvert as well, but being a little shy then even, I didn't even want them in the studio with me. I didn't know how to work all the buttons and all the little dials and knobs, but I was like, do y'all have to look at me? So, but that was my first professional thing that I ever did, right?
Wow.
And they paid me a whole whopping 30-day gym membership.
Man,
and it was for a funeral home.
That's wow. So, I mean, that's even if it was just like a 30-day gym membership, that's pretty impressive that they gave you something at a young age, at a young person doing this.
Yeah, it was, I was a little naive, but it was a great experience. And actually that really helped shape what I started doing with voice simultaneously with some of the other things that I was doing, which was theater, show choir, and all of these other things. So it was helping shape my voice as a whole, and doing the Jones Funeral Home commercial. we'll take care of your family's needs. So,
Okay. How do you do that? Like I get the voices and all. How did you perfect that? That's wow.
it's taken a lot of years, but
Yeah.
when you ask about my childhood, I actually started imitating and joking around even as a kid around seventh grade.
Mm.
And I just started listening. And a lot of what you do requires a lot of listening and translating what you hear. So I would hear a sound and I would look at a newscaster and they would go, News Center 6. And I would go, News Center. And I would start to shape my sounds and I would do it slowly first, right?
Yeah.
Until I could match the sounds and the pitches of what I hear. So it's a process, but there's a lot of things that I teach in the lessons and everything that I do that help people adjust slowly until it becomes like a muscle memory thing. So it's really fun. It takes a lot of practice.
So was this what you always dreamt of becoming and growing up to do?
No, like I said, I was very shy. I've always had a passion for the arts. When I was a little girl, I was very shy, really scary. You couldn't get me on a stage, but I was always singing and imitating my mother and all that kind of stuff. But I couldn't see myself really um, getting on a stage. I always imagined it a little bit, but I was so fearful that I was like, oh, I'm not sure. So I would just watch others, right? And then as I got a little older and I started doing things in high school, I didn't get in choir and do other things until I was in the 12th grade, really. And I started kind of stepping out there through the encouragement of other people and, people cheering me on, like my family, my, brothers. But it wasn't until maybe I took my first mass communications course in college where they made me get up and they said, well, you're in mass communications. You have to take this speech class and you have to make presentations and you have to do on camera and you have to do all of these things. And they were like, so what I want you to do, the teacher would say, you must tell a story about who you are, similar to what you asked me, and you've got to do it in front of everybody. So because I was so shy, I reverted back to something that allowed me to hide, but it made me have to speak about who I was. And that was a saxophone. That was a saxophone. I used saxophone, believe it or not, to hide and not open my mouth and speak because the saxophone is really like an extension of my voice because you can feel every emotion through it, right? You can feel happy, you can feel sad, you can get the little romance going, you can get all these emotions and funky, right?
Yeah.
So I would use that to express myself. But then when they say, now you have to talk, I did the presentation on my saxophone. And so I was able to bring it into class with me.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like that security blanket that
Mm.
helped get me through. And then once I started talking about it, I was like, wow, that's what I'm going to be doing on stages. So I would introduce myself, talk to the audiences, and play in stage plays and theater shows and all that kind of stuff. And I would always be the person that came in and played saxophone, but I was also an actress. Ah, so it worked out really nice. It helped push me to the voice part.
Okay.
Hmm.
So later into, I guess, your younger years, you got picked up by a radio show when you were 18.
That was right after I started doing the commercials. I was on KTOY 104.7 FM back home in Texarkana, Texas. Yes.
How did it feel?
It felt really good because the people that were around me were so supportive and cheering me on, and I had never had that. It didn't that particular one didn't last that long, but because of that, it gave me a lot of push and it gave me a lot of encouragement. So it felt really good to be there with the hometown celebrities and being a young lady and them giving me all the credit that they felt that I was due and the push that I needed. So it felt really, really, really good. And being introverted and a little shy, when people would say, I heard you on the radio, I'll go, really? Really?
You sure that was
It
me
still
that
was.
you you know?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But it's really cool.
So what helped you kind of peck out and crack out of that shell of yours?
Music. See, with me, because the arts, everything that you do, and even communications in the arts and theater and uh, production, it all goes kind of hand in hand. And so, with all the things that I was doing simultaneously, I also attained a cosmetology license, right? And that was to help fund what I was doing, give me freedom to, make my own schedule. And so with that, I would take the cosmetology, be doing theater makeup on celebrities, right? And then they would say, hey, we need somebody to play this role as well. So I'm getting to know people. I'm becoming comfortable with stages. I'm, backstage doing the makeup. And then they say, well, we need you to do this part. So then soon I'm moving out on the stage. Then I'm playing an old lady. And the old lady I was playing was not me. So since it wasn't me, I got to do something that I like to think of Tyler Perry, how he does Medea.
Yeah.
But when he has to play himself, right, he was really uncomfortable. So that helped me break out of my shell because I got to pretend I was somebody else. And I remember, those old churches in the country.
Yeah.
Jalen, you remember those? Have you ever been to one of those?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so one of my first fun roles was me being an old lady singing, "Let Jesus fix it for you." Whoa, and come on now, baby, we're gonna eat us something over here.
Okay.
we about to eat, and I got to put the gray hair on, and I got to, twitching my walk a little bit and all that kind of stuff. And it really helped me get comfortable and start moving into that being on stage and, developing characters, not only in persona, in the aesthetic, right? But also with the voices. So I got to start changing and shaping my voices through theater. And so there you have it.
So was that like your
part
most
of it.
favorite theater role you ever played, or is it another one?
No. Oh my gosh. My favorite one is the iconic story and piece, A Raisin in the Sun. A Raisin in the Sun, I was able to play Ruth Younger, the Walter of the star of the play, Walter Younger. Three shows, 3 weekends, all sold out to capacity. And my co-star, the main star that I co-starred with was David Michael Wyatt. And he has been touring with Toby Nwigwe out of Houston, Texas. And so David Michael Wyatt, hi friend. And so that was my favorite role ever. And also my best friend played the little sister of Walter Younger. Her name is Ariel. That was my favorite.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Your favorite role, and also your friend got to play a part with you in it. That's pretty great. So
and my son, I can't leave it out. My son played my son, Travis Younger.
Wow.
I can't. It's hard to top. It's hard to top to do that with your friends and my own child.
Yeah.
So he was 10 years old at the time.
So you had a son that was your son. You had a sister that was your best friend. How did it feel to kind of rehearse it and like do it out on screen with all these familiar faces?
It was like butter. It was so smooth because we had done so many things together, Jalen, that people thought that they hired superstar professionals at the time to come in. They were like, where did you find these people? Because we had such a synergy, we had such a real love relationship that it wasn't really work. And so it was seamless. It was like butter. It was so amazing. So amazing. And I loved it.
Okay, so what other things have you done in the theater area?
Oh, I mentioned a few just a little while ago because I have my cosmetology license. I've done a lot of set building. That was very interesting because when you do set building and productions, certain productions, you have moving parts, working items like ovens and stoves. So, and one of the productions, particularly that one, I actually had to cook some nasty eggs up for them. Everything's working, and I was a part of building and painting the set, and that was really cool. Also, some of the other theater productions I've done makeup on Tyler Perry, some of Tyler Perry artists, Tamika Scott, Little G, Palmer Williams. There's so many. So makeup artistry, also being a part of the pit orchestra for a lot of these productions. So there's one that I almost did everything in that production. Meaning, one production I played the saxophone and I was a character. I went down and did the announcements, and now everybody mute your phones. And then did the show announcements in between, and then I did makeup backstage, and all of the things
Wow.
during one production with a few celebrities at that particular time, and it was very lucrative. It paid well. It
I mean,
paid
I
well,
bet you're like, if it was credits, your name probably would have rolled up like 16
and it
sometimes.
did. It did.
Wow,
It did.
that's something. So you have comatology and you have a PhD in
No,
pathology.
no, I'm working on. That's what I'm working towards.
Ooh, why?
Why am I working on my PhD in speech language pathology? It's because one of my favorite things in life to do is to help people develop their skill and their vocal aptitude. Everything that I do around voice, singing, voice acting, voice over, to me, speech language pathology would allow me, honestly, to help them care for their voices and preserve them and give them longevity, and not just teach them the la 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 la's and how to, shape their sounds and read script and create characters, but I'm going to take it to another level of, now you have a one stop. I'm your lady. We're going to take care of your instrument. The first instrument ever known to man is the human voice, and it's the most precious thing. And we all tell our stories through it. We
Yeah.
work through those. We speak. We do everything. We entertain. And I want to help everybody that I can that comes across my path to do that. And that's why I chose speech language pathology. That plus my experience in music and arts. There you have it. The ultimate vocal voice master.
Yes, wow. You made me glow. I don't know how, but you just made me glow, and that's wow. So you are also a vocal coach too, and you just really kind of want to share your gifts. What makes you have that, I guess, outreaching personality?
Well, that's a really good question, and there's a lot of ways I can answer that. What makes me have that outreaching personality to do this and help people with their voices? Well, just like I mentioned a little bit, our voices is how we tell our story. It's how we, communicate. It's how we entertain. It's how we express. And for a while, being an introvert and being really shy and hiding behind the music at one point, right? I I use that as my crutch. But then I said, well, if I don't tell my story, if I don't help others understand through sound what you can do with your life through voice, then oh my God, what am I here for? I gotta get this out. I've got to share and help people understand how beautiful this instrument is. And so honestly, during the pandemic, there was a moment where all I had was my voice, right? All I had was my voice. And there was an app called Clubhouse that came out, you know, ta-da, it shows up.
Yeah.
And people were able to start connecting on Clubhouse.
So what made
Well,
you want to get on?
that well, I didn't, to be honest. I really didn't want to get on it at first. Because I was like, oh God, here we go again. Another social media
Another one.
Oh, I don't want to be on social media.
Other people
I
that
don't want to do it.
me
Ugh.
so much more new.
Yeah, I don't want to do it. But that's all we had. And I was like, well, at least I don't have to be on camera. At least I don't, have to, prepare myself and do this huge production. I could just use all I have at this moment, which was my voice. And so on that platform, I was able to start disrupting a little bit, but my disruption helped actually set a tone and a pace that they still use today. And as people are speaking in these rooms and doing music reviews, it will become chaotic, right? Really chaotic. And people were saying, well, what are we supposed to do? Everybody's talking over each other. And I go, may I have your attention, please? May I have your attention? Hello, hello. And they were like, what is that? Oh my God, what is that? Oh,
are we getting paid?
what's going on? And then shortly after that, people would say, can you tell everybody what we're doing and explain it using that voice? And I was like, sure. And that voice became known as the reset. So I was the one that set the culture of people saying, you're in this room, we're talking about this subject, and follow the moderators and all of these other things. And so that became known as the reset. But then they didn't know how to close the room. People would continue talking. Okay, we're going to go. Okay, well, who's going to close the room? And then somebody asked, ooh, can you make the room self-destruct? And I said, sure. This room will be closing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Goodbye. And that was the room. Now people count the rooms down. It was just like, this is a final, goodbye for this room. We're going to shut it down. And so that became a part of the culture, a huge part of the culture.
You just
for
laid the path down for basically everyone. Wow.
Resetting. And people at that time started telling me that I was the voice of Clubhouse because I was in every room. And from that, using my voice alone helped me start to say, wow, this is where I've always belonged. I've been teaching voice singing forever. I've been on radio. I've done theater. I've done voice acting. I've done all these things. And then I'm like, oh my God, I've done everything to do with voice on this platform and I'm teaching. And then I meet a gentleman named Rick Party as well. And through that, I kind of watched him a little bit. I was trying to figure out who this guy was. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I was like, And so anyway, through that, I started sending people to him because I was like, this man is amazing. He's doing all this voice stuff. And there was huge things going on. And so I was like, man, I think one day I'm going to connect with him. I think one day I am. I think. And it happened. And so we've taught together, taught voiceover, voice acting on there, coached, and got people started who are curious. And even with that, the room reset, becoming the voice, quote unquote, the voice of Clubhouse, right? That led me to doing rooms for people like legends Curtis Blow, welcoming him to Clubhouse after, supporting him, meeting MC Hammer, the chief scientist of NASA, Jim Green, at the time during the pandemic, which we are friends now. And he's now the senior advisor to NASA, just from the sound of voice. And I was like, wow, who would think the woman who could not open her mouth at first, had to hide behind her music. I would sneak behind the mic. I do radio because I could, I don't have to be there. But go from that to meeting these people just from the sound of voice to meeting Snoop Dogg, getting on his album, Will I Am, Jimmy Jam, and all these people and more. There's more. I just, but these are people who have, either reached out or, asked for me to work with them. And so all through voice. And I was like, wow, I'm getting to teach people. I'm getting to express myself. And one of the things that really stood out for me after hiding for so many years behind the music and after, doing different things. Yeah. Now through that same platform, right? Through social audio, I got to tell my story.
It put you on a pedestal.
And through it, and it gave me a different type of platform to reach people all over the world, singing with people in French, Japan simultaneously. And I got to tell my story of overcoming some of the challenges I'd been through as a single mom, and even won a $5,000 speaking competition in 5 minutes, just from voice, just from voice. And so I'm grateful. So that's just a little bit more.
Okay, okay. Before we get into a lot more of the music part of yourself, you just said
Hmm.
5,000 for
Hmm.
how many minutes?
5 minutes. It was called the 5 Minute Power Talk. And a beautiful lady held a competition saying, just come in. We're going to allow you a 5 minute opportunity. But if you pass that mark and giving what they would call your elevator pitch or your pitch of telling your story, you're disqualified. I can't remember where my cutoff was, but I didn't hit 5 minutes. But you were to tell your story, a full synopsis, start to finish in 5 minutes, kind of like what maybe a movie trailer would do, a
Wow.
little more longer because that's a long time, 5 minutes. So, but you know how when you see a movie trailer, you get a gist of the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's what we had to do with our voice and speaking alone. And so, what I realized at that moment is I hadn't prepared, I hadn't done all this extra stuff. I had just happened upon it. Somebody sent me a message, said, "Hey, you should come here." Okay. So I do. And I was like, what do I do? I got a few of those old school note cards, wrote some notes down, and said, all I have to do is tell my truth. Nobody's staring at me. Nobody's looking at me. Nobody's judging me. But if I just tell my truth, I don't have to set it up a certain way and it'd be perfect.
Wow.
So I started with the intro similar to what I gave you, told my story of being a single mom, and all the way to what I've been doing currently in 5 minutes. And they said, clean sweep. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
To get back to this, also,
Mm-hmm.
$5,000 for 5 minutes, and you did
Mm-hmm.
all it, and you first started off with a 30-day gym membership. So, how was how was the money flow in, I guess, the voice industry?
It's interesting. It depends on the type of job you get. There's local, there's national, there's internet, there's buyouts, there's all different kind of things that you can look into when you're getting into it. And then if you get into the Disney characters, oh my God, you already know the answer for that. People like Beyonce who play Nala in The Lion King. So there's a huge range of things, or money or income that you can have in the voice industry. Fortunately, mine has been pretty lucrative, but just like with any type of contracting and stuff like that, there can be lulls at time to time. There can be, especially when things like what we talked about happen, like the pandemic, and people are not sure where they're going. Some of the business can get better, right? But it can be very lucrative. It can be. It can be.
It can.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, what kept you going in the industry when, I guess, as someone starting off, what kept you going? Because as someone starting off in an industry of any type of acting or any type of industry, it's going to be a little shaky. So, what kept your feet on the ground? What kept you going?
This is a little bit of emotional part for me. My son, my son, there, and I tell this story quite a bit. Okay, um, there was a time that I was really, really not doing well as far as health and all this other kind of stuff because we all go through stuff. But there was one time he was probably about 11 or 12. He came to me after seeing me work behind the scenes, after seeing me do certain things and perform and travel, uh, all of these things. He came up to me one day randomly and said, Mom, you're famous. And I was like, No, I'm not. "Mm, yes, you are." I said, No, I'm not. And when he said that, something hit me, and I was like, what does he see that I don't see? You know, what is he seeing? He saw all the things. He saw the one without the makeup, but he saw the work, he saw all these things, and then he would see people's responses where I would maybe be oblivious to it, right? He was watching the whole time. And I said, oh my God. So if my son sees this in me, I need to make sure that I show him all that's possible. I need to be the example of everything that's possible. I want to show him that. And that's what kept me going through the ups and downs, through some of the harder times, through the times that I didn't get paid anything, through the times I volunteered, through the times I got, some of the things we'll talk about in a minute. It was my son, to be honest.
A lot of people see, I guess, the outward projection, a lot of things that you want them to see, like with the industry, all these deals, all these things. The algorithm album with you were in with Snoop Dogg, which we'll talk about later. But how has it been as a normal person in the industry? Do you ever get recognized? Do you ever? How is it like?
Well, I will say, it depends. I do get recognized sometimes, but I haven't done a lot on camera either, though. Not a whole lot on camera. It's been theater behind the scenes. I'm moving more towards more on cameras very, very, very soon.
Okay.
And so, but I do. Even in the metaverse, somebody will say, oh, you're that lady that I heard. You're the one that did that voice. And we have the Oculus on and, all that kind of stuff. And they'll hear me speak and go, oh, I can't believe that's you.
I found you.
I know. It's stuff like that. It's cute stuff like that happens. Honestly, I like not being probably noticed sometimes. And I imagine a lot of the top tier celebrities are like that too. But I'm an introvert. So when you say, how has it been? I have to revert back and get to my little quiet space and, re-energize and kind of hide from time to time, but that's okay. But yeah, it's interesting. I've had fun and some challenges adjusting, to some things, being in the forefront when I'm speaking and doing keynote speaking and stuff like that. But it's growth. It's growth. And actually, I'm here for it all now. But it's been interesting along the way, to say the least. Okay.
You said your son is the person who pushed you and kept you going and doing all these things. But how do you manage being a single mom doing all the things that you do in the industry?
Ooh, that's a good one too. Honestly, the answer to that question is I don't even know. That's the truth, because it's when I look back at hair and makeup, playing saxophone, traveling, making all his baseball games, making all his band competitions and band stuff. I really don't know. And then still performing and still doing all these. I really don't know. It's a miracle. It really is. All I can say is one day at a time. That's something I just live by. Today we have this. Today I have that, so that I don't get overwhelmed, And now I will say he is 24 years old. So now it's all taken care of. And I don't have to do that so much. But when he was younger, it was quite a bit of work. Even to the point of me taking all this off, right? When a coach abandoned their baseball team, me putting on a baseball cap, a pullover, zipping it up and going, cut 2, throw to 3, go, run, and shouting and coaching a 13 and 14-year-old boys baseball team for the entire season as the head coach. So I don't know, but it happened. We made it. We made it.
How did you learn how to do all the baseball coaching and stuff?
Watching their coaches, being present, being really involved, really. I'm really like a sponge. when it comes to things like that. As long as I'm present and if I'm there consistently, I pick up on it, study a little bit, learn the rules just a little bit here and there. And it was 13 and 14. It wasn't like it was summer league, travel championships for that particular team. It was pretty good. And they actually, Jalen, you know what they told me? The boys told me. They said, "You're the best coach we've ever had."
That's a trophy right there. Wow.
Yes. It was pretty awesome.
Wow. So, as your son being a 24-year-old now, do you ever see him, I guess, pick up some of the tendencies of voiceover, or is he ever interested in doing any of the lines of work that you're doing?
Well, this is interesting. I've had a conversation about this recently. He can do a lot of the things I do. But he said, "Mom, I don't want to sing." He said he has other interests that keep him, but he's able. I took him into a radio station when he was 9, and he did his first commercial. He did really, really well. That was his first and his last one. That was his first and his last one. As far as singing with a voice as well, so voiceover and promo and commercial and all that, he can, but I don't want to sing. I was like, okay, I let him have it. He does enough. He does quite a bit. He's really talented.
Yes. Wow. Okay. So, when I look behind you when you first got on camera, when I first talked to you today, I did not just see the saxophones, but I also saw the trombone. And when I looked over the stuff about you, you played instruments, and saxophone kind of stuck with you. So, how many can you play?
Okay, there's clarinet, there's flute, trombone, saxophone, bass guitar, and a little bit of piano.
Oh, okay.
6.
Right. So, what brought you to the, I guess, whole music part of life?
So, music is really it. I'll say it this way. You'll hear me say this phrase a whole lot: a passion for the arts as a whole. I did not know this, but my mom, when she was a kid, she wasn't able to afford to be in the band. They couldn't buy her instrument. And she told me, she said, "I prayed for a child that would love music like I do." She didn't push me. She didn't say, "Here's an instrument." She never did that with any of us. She waited to hear what we said first. And then she would just kind of push us in that direction and help shape us and support us. Well, here goes. I'm in I'm a 6th grade, getting ready to go to 6th grade. And I was like, "Oh my God, I want to join the band." And she said, "Really?" I saw your face. Really? I said, "Yeah, I want to play. I want to play in the band. I don't know what I'm going to do." At the time, we couldn't afford the expensive instruments, and we had to go rent a horn. And the first instrument was the flute. That one, this one. And so with that first being my first instrument, honestly, can I tell you what? I didn't like it. I didn't want to play the flute because when I look at the drum section, right, I was like, you can hear them and they can do some cool stuff. And then when I heard the tubas, they had a big sound and it was like, honking, I was like, that sounds so good. And I was a 6th grader and I'm listening to all these sounds and then flute comes along and it's like, it sounded too weak to me. So I keep going. And by the time I get to high school, I'm still on flute. And I was like, oh my God, the music is getting better. Then a band director comes to me and says, "Hey, we need somebody to play bass clarinet. Do you mind?" I said, "Sure." And then the next year, the band director says, "We're doing a jazz band. We need somebody on trombone. You want to try it?" My first year, I was second chair in jazz. My second year, I was first chair on that trombone. I loved it so much because I could use that slide and make cool sounds. And so because they were so supportive, They let me touch almost every instrument I wanted to. And that led me to keeping the trombone. And I kept the flute and the clarinet, of course, but it still was there something missing.
There was still one
There,
piece.
there was still something missing. But so I graduated school, and then, like around 22 years old, I said, I still don't feel the music like I want to. And then I heard saxophone players playing music on a different level. And I was like, that's it. So I go searching, didn't have enough money, was in college doing mass communications, right? And I go to a pawn shop and buy a tenor sax, like that bigger one, the bigger one, for $125. And I started singing a note, la, playing it, da, singing the note, playing it, sing a song, twinkle, twinkle, little star, copy it, start self-teaching, playing the saxophone.
Wow. That is something.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, very much so. Wow.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Now, before
Thank
we
you,
get
Brittany.
more into music, you did write something saying you did actually, for a moment in time, have media over music in your college. In college,
Mm-hmm.
what was that about?
Okay, it's very interesting. So, me being a young lady, right? Everybody would say to me around where I live, you need to try your first year at college at home. You need to, you know, just stay here for a year, kind of feel things out, take your basic courses, and, you'll be fine. Then you can transfer out the next year. Well, that didn't happen because I became a single mother. So when I decided to do mass communications, I was like, "Oh, I need something that's in close proximity to, I'm thinking, what can I do that will help me be creative, that will help me, shape some things?" And I was like, it has to be mass comm because I could be behind the camera, I can record, I can, you know, create scripts and do all this other stuff, right? And then even at that age, my thinking was, how could this work towards music later? Music videos, production, writing music beds for commercials, right? And doing what? VO scripts for the same commercials until all that shaped into me having my own company in commercial production, full commercials, videography, voiceover, music bed production, for the people. I would say, what is your feel? What is your vibe? Um, what does your company stand for? I would type up the script. I would create the music bed. If I needed to sing something, I could sing it. If I needed to do the voiceover, I would say, located at 1234 Walnut Avenue. I could do that and started producing. And so it still led me in my it still helped me with my creativity. It helped me with my music. It helped me with production, all of these things. And I knew that I could always use it at some point in life. And look, here we are.
So you were a one
Here
woman.
we are.
You were the voiceover artist. You were the script maker. You were the music maker. You were the camera woman.
Mhm.
You were.
I did. I have. Yes.
You
Mhm.
did it all. Wow.
Mhm.
Something.
And
So
I've filmed some really amazing people too. One of the funniest ones was a comedian, actually nephew Tommy from the Steve Harvey Morning Show. Nephew, he was hilarious because he saw me doing my work, and I dress up wherever it doesn't matter. I'll put on jeans, but I'll always have my hair and makeup done. And so they see this lady on stage with a camera doing all this, and then you'll see me on the floor, literally on the floor, trying to get a different angle where the lighting would be just right. And so he looks over and he says, look at her. She's all on the floor in her good clothes. And he made me part of his act because I was all over the place. But then at the end, I just said, hey, let's take a picture. And I said, oops, I hit the video. And I even have that on my Instagram. He was like, this lovely woman has been filming this entire event. And I was like, I didn't ask you to do all that. He just did it. He was so kind. He just did it. He just gave me this huge plug and said what he noticed. And then I talked to him after we went off camera. And it was just one of the most fun things. One of the most fun people I did videography on it. It was really nice.
So, what eased you in your switch from media to music? What like what made, because you were preparing for it, but what made you actually take the switch?
Mm, I can't really say it's a complete switch because everything I do is kind of happening simultaneously. Um, I don't do it maybe as it probably would be the pandemic because I was doing it pretty, consistently until I moved. And that switch, I guess, would be this. Um, After my son, decided what he wanted to do, right? Then I was an empty nester. So I said, oh my God, since I wasn't able to go to school for music when I was at this time, right? Guess what I get to do? And he said, well, Mom, what is it? I said, I'm going to audition for Berklee College of Music. So at age 41, I auditioned for Berklee College of Music and got accepted my first shot in one of the harder programs.
Wow.
And guess what that program was? Voice.
I mean,
Voice.
by the first 3 minutes of this episode, I knew you had it in you. I don't know what told
Thank you.
I don't know what told me it. It might have been the incredible voice, but I don't know.
Well, thank you. Thank
So
you.
how did it feel to be accepted into this?
Honestly, and there's some changes that have happened since then, but honestly, it was amazing. I never thought that I would be that person looking at my emails like, did they tell me yet? You know, the acceptance, that the reaction videos that people do,
Yeah.
right? I should have done one because I was about to freak out. I was about to freak out. I was like, I'm 41. I'm getting ready to try to make this new thing. I'm going to move to a whole new place from Texas to Boston. I hope, I hope, I hope, I hope, I hope. And I kept checking that email. And right at 12:01 midnight, I had nobody I could call. I see it and it says, congratulations, you've been accepted. And I was like, so it felt amazing. It's one of the most prestigious universities. It's more contemporary than Juilliard, but it's with the same level as a sister college to Harvard. It's a sister university to Harvard. You can get dual degrees from Harvard and Berkeley at the same time. That it's world renowned. So it felt amazing.
That was something pretty gratifying for you. So what was kind of like your first feeling of that moment with music? What was your first, wow, this is incredible, yada yada with music for you?
I don't know. I'm going to take it back a little bit, okay? Because even though it was amazing to get accepted at Berklee, there's been so many other things that have happened musically prior to that, okay? Because before that, I think one of the best feelings in the world is when I got my saxophone endorsements, my mouthpiece, reed, and saxophone endorsements. Those two saxophones were given to me by the companies I'm endorsed with. And at the time, to have an endorsement, it was kind of another level, right? And being that I was self-taught and I hadn't gone to any music school, right? I didn't get taught anything by any jazz studies program. I didn't, become an elitist and I know this and blah, 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 and I can brag. All I had was raw, this is what I love to do. And I remember doing this. I have a habit of throwing myself birthday parties, but at my parties, I make announcements and I give gifts to people. I do like prizes and stuff like that. I probably shouldn't have said that. Now everybody's going to be like, "We're going to her party."
At your birthday, you gave gifts away?
Yeah, everyone that I've done for myself. Yeah. And so like keyboards, 4 sets of tires for cars, all kinds of stuff. Whatever companies were wanting to advertise and supported, yeah, I gave stuff away. But so even prior to Berkeley, the Berkeley thing was to kind of help solidify some things. That's why I went. But it wasn't that I needed so much of the training, it's more as the paper to support what I've been doing all these years, right? Because then, when I auditioned, I was 41. So there's a lot of life experience and all that kind of stuff. So the endorsements were huge for me. I remember wanting to give up playing saxophone altogether, even after I'd self-taught and done all this stuff, right? Um, and I remember crying and saying, if something doesn't happen, I'm never going to play the saxophone again. I had put the saxophone down for like 6 years.
Wow.
And I would look at it in the corner. And then somebody says, well, will you come play at this event that's at my hometown? And I was like, oh, I guess. I'm rolling my eyes like, here we go. Somebody else wants to,
The
just,
saxophone again.
yeah, it was because I had been taken advantage of a lot, believe it or not. So, I go ahead and I go to this event right along the same time that I'm been discouraged and trying to decide, am I really going to do this and keep this as a part of my life? And the first person I see is James Fortune, then Donnie McClurkin, then Micah Stampley. And this amazing moment happens where Donnie McClurkin is getting ready to do his ministry message, but he starts to sing and everybody's on their keyboards and instruments and they're trying to do all this fancy stuff. And Donnie goes, oh, and I play it back to him on sax. Da, 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 da. And then he does something different. And everything he did, I mimicked perfectly until the point he said, everybody else, shh, 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 shh. And it was just me and him. And I was like, wow, this is so amazing. At the end, he sends a message that he's just like, you are phenomenal. You're phenomenal. And so it was at one of those moments where you maybe see on a movie where the light shines down and there's just, two people. That's what it felt like. It was just like me and him. And right after that, I got home, I did the party, announced that I was going to go to something called NAM, National Association of Music Merchants, where over 9,000 vendors are there every year. You walk by and you see Slash. You walk by and you see Name a Star, Flavor Flav. You walk by, you see, Eminem. It doesn't matter. Just name one. Everybody's walking around from old to new, right? Because they're with these companies that they have endorsements with and they have to come as a representative. So I'm there walking past all these people. That first year, I got my mouthpieces from a company, from a song I recorded in a studio called My Funny Valentine. They heard it. They was like, we love you. And ever since, I've never had to pay for another one.
Right before the show, actually, I went onto your YouTube and listened to that song. And it was worth the endorsement. It was worth the endorsement.
Thank you.
Wow. So
I really enjoyed that. There's a funny story, Jalen, on that My Funny Valentine too. You want to hear it?
I mean, it's fitting to the title of the song. So
hey, so because I was getting ready to be interviewed on a radio show, and it was around Valentine's Day, they said, "Do you have something recorded specifically for Valentine?" I was like, "No, I don't." And right before the radio interview, I found the sound thing on YouTube, and I was like, "Oh my God, what am I gonna do?" I drive all the way out into this remote part where the studio is. I couldn't breathe. I run in, right? I couldn't breathe. The guy in the studio says, "I'm here. I'm going to help you. You're going to have something for them to play. You're okay. Take a deep breath." And I go, "Okay, wait." My funny Valentine. And that's exactly how I did it. 30 minutes in and out. I sang it. Then I played the alto sax behind it. He mixed it down. I got back in the car, ran out the studio, drove to the radio station, did my interview, and they played it. And they still play it to this day. So That's the same song that I used to get the endorsements.
It worked out.
Didn't even have time to edit. Didn't even have time to really edit. So that's pretty. It was pretty straight in, straight out. No extra stuff.
And thinking if you didn't take the funeral, you wouldn't have probably done any of the stuff with the saxophone again.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's all connected. It all worked out the way it was supposed to because that same radio station is where I was interviewed at as the music artist. That was one of them. Yeah, so yeah.
Okay. Now we talked about a lot of endorsements. We talked about a lot of things, a lot of people you met. But recently, using the Clubhouse app, you met a very famous person. I'm not sure if everyone knows who he is. He's been around there. His name's Snoop Dogg. He's been there. You know. How did it feel when you were able to meet and talk to and be on his album? Be on an album with Snoop Dogg. How did that feel?
It felt amazing. I tell people this. When I met him on the audio app, it was just funny because people were like, "Oh, Snoop Dogg's on the app." And I started getting, these messages and I went to the room and somehow I got invited on stage by somebody else that was helping him or whatever. And I just decided to interrupt the stage. And I was like, "Hello there. I'm Siri," or something. Or I said something. I don't know. But everybody was like, "Oh, that's a troll." They call people who disrupt the stages then trolls because they were like, "That can't be real." And no, everybody on the stage said, "No, it's real. That's El Michelle. No, it's real." And then he was like, I won't say all the questions he asked, the AI, which was me. But he asked a few questions that I didn't want to answer. And I just said, "I'm sorry, I don't understand the question." And then I made Snoop repeat himself as if he was really talking to an AI. And then he said something else. I said, "I'm sorry, I didn't get that." And he repeated himself. I said, "Snoop, you're repeating yourself. You know this is not really." And he said, "Oh, man." And he starts laughing. He said, "I did do that, didn't I?" And he said, an expletive or whatever. But from that, he said, "Yo, I'm going to need you on an album. I'm working on this album and I need a navigation voice." And so he says, "I'm going to get with you and da 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 da." And he gets my number and he didn't know how to work. No, actually, he came back on the app after leaving that day. And he said, "I'm going to use you. I'm going to use you." Didn't hear from him. About a month later, I get a message. "Snoop Dogg's looking for you." He comes back to Clubhouse, creates a room just to find me.
Wow.
And he was like, "I can't find, where's that lady?" And so I'm getting Instagram messages and I pop in the room. He was like, "Wait a minute, how do I get her on stage? Wait a minute, there she is." And then he was like, "Yo, I've been looking for you, girl." And I was like, "Okay." And he said something, he asked me a question on that Clubhouse stage. He said, "How much weed?" He said, "Yo," another AI's name. He named another AI and I just played along. And he said, "How much weed does Snoop Dogg smoke?" And I said, "Snoop Dogg smokes an infinite amount of weed, scientifically known as cannabis, more commonly Mary Jane. I'm going to put that on my album. I love that." And it's on his album.
Wow.
I just off the top of my head. And so that was pretty awesome. And so after that, the best part, I really get excited about stuff like this. I really do. The best part was our phone conversation. So he asked for my number there and he was like, "I got it. 50 we are on." And I'm not telling y'all the rest because y'all not calling me. But he said, "I got it. You know what I'm talking about?" So 3 days later, I'm on the phone and we had the best conversation. It was so chill. He shared ideas. I gave him ideas. And he said, "Now that I know you do all of these things, maybe you can do what? Lay some saxophone tracks as well." And he doesn't forget. The thing about Snoop, he doesn't forget. So maybe, just maybe, there'll be something else coming up. just maybe. And but at 3 days later, I was on the phone with him, and it was the best
Yeah.
conversation. It was chill. We even talked about my little beagle Arya. We were talking about pets and stuff too. And if you didn't know, he got his name because he loved Snoopy as a kid. Snoopy is a beagle. And so he was like, "You have a beagle?" I said, "Sure do."
How old?
So she's 9 now. She's 9.
What's your
Mhm.
name?
Aria Michelle.
Wow. All right. All
Hmm.
right. So you're a saxophone player. You're a vocal artist. You're a voice actor. You are a singer. You are Siri. You are.
I'm not Siri, but I do know Siri. That's an interesting story. That's another interesting story, Jalen. So through the audio app, some more people started contacting me. They were like, "You've got to get in here. You've got to get in here." The original voice of Siri that Apple used was on there as well. I became friends with her and got to interview her, and I'll be posting it soon. And talked to her about her journey. Her name's Susan Bennett, and we had a great time. We had a great time. So the original voice of Siri dubbed me Siri 2.
Now that's something. That's something. So you're Siri
Yes.
too. You're a voice actor. A vocal. You're a vocal coach as well, and you also
Mhm.
have the name, the Voice Master. So yes, our time's a little over the audience. Yes, I know it's over an hour, but we got to get this out. So why do you call yourself the Voice Master?
it's it's interesting. It's because not that I have personally mastered every voice there is to master,
Yeah.
but it's similar to a sensei, a teacher, right? Um, what do you go when you're doing karate? You have sensei, the master sensei, the master, the one who teaches you how to shape your craft the way it needs to be to help you get to your ultimate potential. And that's who I am, the voice master. I pinpoint what people can do. I help stretch them and shape them and defining their mastery and their highest level of vocal aptitude, whether it be singing from classical to jazz, neo soul, funk, pop. It doesn't matter the genre, but I listen to them and I help them shape that to get their ultimate result. Voiceover, the same thing through script. Voice acting through characters.
I help them shape other sounds so they can be all these cool sounding characters and be a little girl
Or be an old man like this. It does. Hey, and so because I have really, really I've fallen in love with the voice, even from, and I'll do it here for you. The first instrument known to man is our voice, even from beatbox, all of that. Our voices, everything that comes out of this is just a beautiful art. It's an art form, and I want to help people master what they can from what they have, from the barest raw form to their fullest potential. That's it. So the voice master.
Wow.
I
So
pretty much can hear it in people and shape it. It never fails.
wow. So what do you really love about coaching people, shaping their voice, and is doing this?
When they discover they can do something they never thought they could. It's like this. It's this amazing thing. It's this amazing thing where they're either, even if they don't have the confidence or they have the desire, but they have the confidence, but they don't know how to get to it. When that light bulb comes on and the sound comes out, and I see their face light up, I'm like, yes, 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 they got it. They got it. And that feeling for me, it, it's 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 a blessing. I can't say it enough. It's really a blessing when that light comes on. When they say, "I didn't know I could do that. Wow, how did I? Whoa, I didn't understand that, but now I do."
Yeah.
that I love that. I love that feeling of them discovering a part of themselves through their voice that they never thought was there.
That is beautiful. And
Thank you. Thank you.
really, I really do thank you for sharing your story and coming on my show today. Guys, I know it did go a little bit over, but I mean, we got to make some exceptions. She's El Michelle, Siri too. She is just a wonderful person, and I really thank you for coming on the show and sharing your story. But before you get off, can you share where people could follow you and find more information about you?
Right now, everything, the easiest way is to follow me at LMICHELLE, McCray, MCCRAY, on Instagram. Simple. Keep it safe. Keep it simple.
I really appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
This is wonderful. I've had fun.
yes, me too, me too. And we will contact you after the interview is over.
All right. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye. And thank you to the wonderful audience out there in the audience watching. And I really appreciate the support and everything like that. And also, we do have some sponsors who really are helping me with some things that I'm doing. And also, if you guys remember, Mr. Eddie Bell, his wife recently just did pass away. And both of them have been really, really big supporters of what I'm doing. And they've just been helping me with everything I'm doing. It's really incredible, all the things that, because when I first met Mr. Eddie Bell in person, he was just there. He was just helping. He was just helping with all the things that I'm doing with the red carpet and things. And it meant a lot to see these incredible people really helping me and just supporting me. And my mom was actually on her show, Queen G Live Experience, and they talked a lot about just the things that I do. And she was just really, really supportive. And they just do a lot for me. So if you can, please look up On Time Sunwear, and yeah, please support them because they are some really incredible people. So look up On Time Sunwear and look up Eddie Bell, and just please, if you can, please support them. Their Cash App is somewhere on their page. So if you can, please do support them. It means a lot. And also, the Mitchells Academy of Music and Dance, they are incredible people. They are some incredible teachers, incredible people. They're good at what they do. Mr. Mitchell is teaching me piano, and hey, all I gotta say is when I get older, you know who I'm gonna say did this for me, because he is really incredible. He's incredible at he does. And Mrs. Mitchell, she is such an incredible person. She is an incredible chef as well, because like when I come over, they always have like something cooking, and I smell it and I see it, and it's just so good. So please, if you guys can, and if you guys are in the area, call them. They do some incredible lessons and incredible things. Also, Tropical Flavor, they got the flavor. What am I telling? They have a lot of good stuff. They have a lot of good food. When I first came over to the Macon area, all right. This place was like hit in the spot. I had to come here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times a week just to be satisfied. And honestly, they have the best Caribbean food basically on the planet. So if you guys are hungry, please call them on the card right there. Best food, I am telling you. And also, Eris Talent Agency, they are my agent. They help me get a lot of auditions, and I really appreciate all their support. And hey guys, if you are an actor and you're doing your thing, please contact them because they are doing their thing as well. And also, Flame Entertainment. If you guys do remember, I'll see if I can pull it up. I recently just did an interview with Mrs. Flame herself, and she is going to help me do a lot of stuff with all the things that I am doing. So if you guys can, please support her and all of her artists. And yeah, thank you all. Thank you all. And also, recently, on my videos, if you look at my videos, not just my lives, my videos, at the Boosie Live Driving Concert, I did interview one of her artists. So please check that out as well. And if you guys, please subscribe, please like, please share, do all that jazz. Also on Jalen Says TV Facebook page, there's a lot of information about the upcoming things I am doing, so you don't miss it. You see all this incredible stuff. A lot of new uploads are coming on my channel as well. So if you guys can, please, thank you, do all that. Subscribe, like, share. It means literally the world to me. Just thank you for all the milestones that we're hitting. I really appreciate it. Make sure you check out all my sponsors. Make sure to do that. And guys, stay tuned. Peace.